I already know what time it is. It's Conversations with Ruach right here, right now. My girlfriend Yaminah is here. Yaminah, how are you tonight?
I am fabulous. So happy to be here, and I hope you are as well.
I am. I am.
Good,
Now
good.
you know I ran across your mind today, and I asked could we talk about traditions.
Okay, tradition. This will be an interesting conversation because I don't feel like anything about my life or upbringing was traditional, but yet it was our tradition. So I'm ready for it.
Okay, now this is what I've been going through. I came out of meditation the other day, and you know we always talk about generational curses, generational this and generational that, right? And so, but the spirit was telling me that it's more traditions that we have carried over. Even though time has progressed, we're still doing ancient things.
Okay, well, I've thought about it a little bit since you mentioned it to me earlier. And I know in ancient times, family lived together. And I understand that, like in the Hebrew tradition, each tribal family had a piece of land that belonged to them. So it didn't mean that you lived in the same house, in the same space, but that you could be a stone's throw away from your parents
Okay.
and everybody had a piece. So speaking of peace, then you could have peace in your family for the most part because we weren't all on top of each other. So that is one aspect of family and living together and tradition. Because now, if we have to live together, we're all crammed together in one three-bedroom space where we're all on top of each other, which means that there's more friction because there's too much in one space.
And no privacy.
No privacy. Otherwise, we have what they're calling the nuclear family, where it's the mother, the children, the husband, and nobody else. So
Ah,
I'm not sure what about tradition has carried over or how it
okay.
transitioned over time.
Let's say the traditions of negative relationships,
Huh. Okay.
the
Well,
traditions of I'm right and you're wrong, the traditions of it's my way or the highway, that kind of attitude, and that slave mentality that we can have as family, because the word family in etymology means house of slaves.
hmm. Okay. Well, yes, that is a part of tradition that we have carried over. I know that back in the days, say in my grandmother's time, even in my mother's time, the men were, and the hierarchy is supposed to be God, and then the man, and then the woman, and then the children.
Mhm.
But, um, and I think because of that, a lot of times women stayed in abusive relationships, domineering, controlling relationships where they did not have a voice because, and you mentioned religion in terms of tradition. Religion says that in Catholicism, you did not get divorced. You married till you didn't breathe anymore.
Mhm.
So you were often in situations, well, you were in situations where the male force was the dominant force, his way or no way.
Mhm.
And so, yes, that is a tradition that we've held on to for a very long time. And they did it for the children, and they did it for everything else. They did it
Let
for,
me ask you this: do you
yeah.
think it's healthy for the children to be in that type of environment?
I
Because now, if
personally,
you have someone controlling you, and you have girls in your house, they grow up and they look for people to control them as well.
well, that is why today those traditions aren't being, they're not the holy grail of life. So now we get to understand that we have value, we have worth, It's a partnership because when God created man and woman, he created them
Mhm.
as one. So if he like separated the woman out of the man, they were one.
Because
And
that's just polarity. Yeah, that's polarity.
right.
I'm a female. Yeah, that's polarity.
So and they were helpmeets to each other. They helped each other. You
Mhm.
walk hand in hand together. And when two cannot agree, there's no peace, there's only contention. And there's a proverb that states it is better to live in a corner of a rooftop than in a house, it says, with a contentious woman, but with a
Mhm.
contentious person.
Person,
So
because it's not always the woman.
it is not always, the woman is usually the blame. You made me do this because.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I've been married and divorced twice, and I was in a domestic abusive relationship, and it is not a good situation for the children because the boys, I had two boys and two girls. So the boys can grow up thinking that they have the right to control and be abusive to the women in their space, which is not true at all. Or they grow up being feeling like they have no control. So their only
Mhm.
control is to lash out. And I find that in my own abusive relationship, when my husband came home from dealing with the outside world and he had shit on his shoulders, he brought
Mhm.
it home. And so he couldn't release his aggression out there and his dissatisfaction. So I guess, you have your whipping post at home. And that's where
Mhm.
you let go of the things that weren't working for you, which is not what a relationship is, which is not the way I understand God designed it to be, which ultimately led to me being a single mom. And because, at one point I was always barefoot and pregnant, and I was recently speaking to my oldest daughter, and I said I was there for way longer than I needed to be because I always had little children, and I felt
Mhm.
like I needed to be there, and they were my primary um, responsibility and obligation. And I felt I just needed to be in the space so that I could take care of my children until they got a little older and I no longer had to be there. And she said to me, "Yeah, you could have left a long time, way before that."
Now let me ask you this. I think that forms serious codependency because at any moment of time, this is just, and I cannot say what you needed to do, but I know for me, I walk out of any situation and I know the God in me is going to prepare a path for me to go on and do what I need to do. Because I've never wanted to be codependent and leaning on somebody and going through all those. Because sometimes we can be with people that are adults by age and childish by mind, immature as hell, excuse my expression.
Yes, it is
Not no
true.
maturity anywhere, not spiritually mature, not emotionally mature, not psychologically mature, just on another side of the road.
You're correct. And I could have left prior to that time because I took care of myself prior to my marriages. I took care of myself within my marriages. So
Hmm.
there really wasn't any reason for me to stay. It was a story that I fed myself, because
Um,
we feel like we can change people, that we can make the difference, but you can only ever change yourself.
mhm.
And that is
And
the
then making up excuses for someone, making up excuses is not the best of things. You have to accept this is who they are, and this is not what I want.
That is true. So everybody listening, please pay attention because my sister knows what she's talking about. You do not have to endure situation. You do not have to. Just don't. Just don't endure situations. There's always a way out. And and more excuses. In my case, I didn't have a support system. Like there was nobody that I could run to,
Mm.
for help. So there are a lot of things that go into decisions that we make around staying in situations that we know we don't belong in.
And then how about this? This is another one that I've noticed. I see women stay in relationships not necessarily for the partnership, but what the partner brings to the table. Which I say to myself, can't you do this stuff for yourself?
You
You
can,
know?
maybe they don't feel like they're capable of, for whatever the reason is. Somewhere down the line, somebody told them, you you're not worthy, you can't do anything, you don't know anything, and you just better get a husband so that somebody will take care of you. So I don't know what their conditioning was, but we all have, again, created in the image of God. We
Mhm.
all have the power to be happy, to create the lives that we came here to live. And that does not mean that it is being so that makes me think of a number of things, like what do you call people looking for sugar daddies. And
Mhm.
I'm
And what you
like,
got to put up
my
when you get
computer
with
is
them?
having an issue in case I freeze up.
Okay. But
And
what
you
do you
got to
have to
put up
put
with
up
the
with?
stuff because you're
Mhm.
not bringing much of anything to the table. Yeah. So you literally put yourself in that situation because it's unlikely you can control it unless you find, you've got your own secret sauce. And oftentimes you can find something that will kind of level the playing field
Mhm.
sometimes.
And then I think that leads into manipulation. You're giving someone so much power over you, and you're allowing, to me now, you're allowing somebody to be your God. I was I was going up and down the TikTok, and the lady hadn't seen her husband in like 2 or 3 years because of the corona. And so she finally saw him, the older couple, like in their 70s. And she reached out, and the first thing she said was, "Oh my God." And I thought to myself, "Oh, hell no. Oh,
Yes.
no, no, no." You know what I'm saying? No, 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 no.
So that's interesting. She didn't see him for like 3 years. Where was he, with another family or something? Like,
No, another convalescent home, in
oh,
another home. So
okay.
you know how they
Oh,
separated
wow.
everybody. And I was like, oh no, because I guess she had that mentality of, as in the past, my aunt got married at 13.
That's the next
Okay.
thing too.
And
Yeah.
so they, back in the days, women really hunted for men that were in the military, men that could, really give them some kind of substantial foundation.
Yes.
I'm not upset with that because that was those times. But when you look at this generation and how these young ladies are doing the same exact thing, you're looking for somebody to take care of you, but you are able to take care of yourself. You're
Again,
not a
that
child. You understand what I'm saying? It'd be different if you were a child. You're not a child, and especially when you're a woman with children, now you have a different responsibility. To me, it's no more about your lustful behavior and the things that you want to continue to do. It's more about focusing on the goal at hand. Okay, what can I do to lead me into the path of green pastures? You know what I'm saying? To get these children where it is they need to go so that I can come back to me.
okay. So I recall saying last week that we didn't have a lot of role models as women growing up, but the role models we had were those that were teaching us the very thing that you're talking about, what our foremothers did to make it work. Because even today, I think there's still that tendency where, okay, well, you grow up, you don't even have to really get a degree, just go to school and find a husband, you know?
Mhm.
And I don't think that's really the dominant behavior or attitude today, but somehow that still is the case. Um, Everybody's looking for somebody to do something for them as opposed to actualizing their potential.
Their fullest potential.
Yeah.
What they're pulling out of you, they can actually pull out of themselves.
Hmm.
Another thing that sets up to me is a slave mentality.
Yes,
That
that
I
is.
have to do what you say when you say how you say, whether it be sexual, it may be you forcing me to have sex when I don't want to have sex. It may be me doing something for you that I haven't even done for myself.
And that you won't do for yourself,
You
and
know,
that should not be done for you. You.
but all of that, it kind of culminates to me like It's 2023. It's 2023. And if we don't really take a look at what we're teaching our children, not only what are we teaching our children as the parents, what are the relationships around us teaching our children?
Well, my mom was a single parent. She had 5 children. And my grandfather lived in the house with us when we were young. But after that, there were no role models. She didn't really bring men home, so we didn't have like the Uncle Johnny, the Uncle Dave, the Uncle Stuff. So she, she did what she needed to do, but it was not about. There was no modeling of male female healthy relationships.
Mhm.
So a lot of us come from that. We have a lot of dysfunction coming up in our families, and so we just don't know any better unless the spirit touches us and let us
Mhm.
know that we are better than what we're seeing in our environment. Not to sound totally not judgmental,
Mhm.
totally not feeling better than anyone else.
Oh, heck no. Mm-mm.
At the same time, we are better than what we allow ourselves to be in
Mhm.
our relationships, in society, in our lives.
Mhm.
And again, it's about that role model thing. We need some forum like this where women can talk openly about, you are the mother of creation. Without you, there is no world. Without you, nothing happens. It's
Mhm.
because of you. So this is what's needed, or more of this.
And then
Definitely.
I can say, I'm going to ask you this. I've noticed in my life at my lowest, when everyone else walked away, baby, when I tell you the God in me begin to move, like my creativity, my mind got to clicking, and baby, I was doing things that I had forgot I knew how to do, you know, and
Because you were free.
the spirit will put you in a place to remove all the distractions so that you can hear clearly what's being said to you, so that you can operate in such a way that you can maneuver yourself through life and just go within the flow of spirit.
And
Like I even thought about this, and this I want you to check this. Just think about it. I said, okay, now spirit created Adam and Eve. They were helpmates. Later on in the Bible, it talks about Cain met his wife. Well, who introduced marriage?
um,
Is that to me is a man-made tradition?
it is a
Because when we
tradition.
look back in history, women were powerful, and so they created this law when they got married and they joined with a man. Whatever her whatever her worth was given to him, and
Okay,
so
well,
then she had to depend on him for what was already hers. And so I'm looking at history and I'm saying, now how did all of this get turned like this?
well, you're right. When you research history and you look back, and some people may take offense to this, but it was a matriarchal society. Like you said, women were powerful. And so that meant that the men, again, were threatened by women. And so this led to women who were outspoken, who had a mind that they could use, who had an understanding, and who had a relationship with God, and who was guided and shown things. When they expressed all of who they were, then they were truly a threat. And so men needing to be the rulers of everyone had to shake that stuff up and change it up. So women were burned at the stakes. We were called witches. We got that scarlet letter put on us. You don't.
because of our intuition and our just knowing of things. Yeah.
Yes. And we, to this day, are still that woman. We know the things,
Hmm.
have the deeper relationships. And if we, or when we, or as we continue to allow other people to tell us how to think, what to say, what to do, when to do it, when we, and I did it for years, like I hid my brilliance because, as I think I said last week, I did not want people to feel uncomfortable around me. But,
Hmm.
um, you know, grow up,
Yeah.
grow
Deal with it.
over, grow up,
Yeah, you got
okay.
to deal with me, baby. When I walk in there, you're gonna have to deal with me because I'm gonna be the person that's gonna ask you the questions, and I want a common sense answer. I'm that person. I don't know everything, but those things that I do know, I want to bring it to the forefront. You can't talk to me in kind of way. I'm gonna let you know I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, but again, when you remember your sovereignty and you walk your walk and talk your talk, when you walk in that room, they already know who you are. So those
Mhm.
people are not going to, again, invade your space because they don't belong there. So you will have conversations with those who have an understanding and who can hold a conversation and can be coherent and have clarity.
Hello, Felicia. I apologize, girl. I'm just now looking down. I apologize. What's up? Thank you for watching us. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And we're talking about traditions and how we're looking at the history of our families, and we're bringing it fast forward into 2023.
But I also have
Another.
to recognize, like a lot of young women today are not that submissive in relationships. They are stepping out, not asking for permission. They are
Mhm.
doing things. And of course, what you do is for the family and it improves everybody's lives. So,
Mhm.
again, you have conversation when you need to have the conversation, but you go out and you do what you need to do. And oftentimes they're being supported by their partners, which only makes sense because that's what a helpmeet is. And it goes both ways. We all help each other, and that helps the family to grow and evolve. It helps our relationships. It helps society. It helps everybody. So I am noticing that with the younger generation of women who are not um, being belittling themselves like we were speaking of before.
Mhm.
So it's
And I can say this. I can say this for this is the ones that I've noticed. I'm talking about early, like 20s.
okay.
Okay, 20s, they got a little, they, I can do this and I can do that. They got that in them, they gumption. But then you get into the 27, 28, 29, 30, and you can see this generational stuff like, come on now, what we doing this for? Why are you being digitally bullied by your mate? Why you got to show this person your phone and what you been doing? Why they don't trust you? Why you always got to be looking at them? Why is the phone call always have to be on
On speaker.
that on speaker, but where I got to look at you. You don't trust where I'm at. All of that kind of crazy stuff. Or why is it I see young ladies that are ostracized from their families or their friends, and they can only move to where how they make want them to move, and down this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that is too much control to give a person.
Yes, well, abusive people do not allow you have to have friendships and relationships outside. That is how they can control you because you
Hmm.
have no one to go to. And so even though people on the outside may have some sense that everything ain't right in what in Disneyland,
Hmm.
they're not coming to help you. They're not
Because
reaching out
they
to you.
probably because they can't. I can tell you when I was in my 20s, I was in a very abusive relationship. Very abusive, right? I couldn't be on the phone without the person standing right there. You understand what I'm saying? Everything they had to be involved in every little move that I made unless I was at work. Thank the Lord we didn't have all of this going on our phone. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying all that to say this. I know what abuse is because I've been there. I've lived in a house where I couldn't put pictures of my family up. I see when somebody is erasing your family from you because out of sight, out of mind, and then I can get in your head and tell you anything. See, it's the
Yes.
things that I see, and when I see it, it tears me up
But you
because
know, you, again, for everything, people have to be ready for a change. They have to reach that point where I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And and usually that abuser, they're checking your phone and sniffing up behind you because they're out there doing the thing that they are trying to accuse you of doing.
Mhm.
So
And
that's a
then I'm gonna
hard
say this. I'm not gonna. I
thing
can
to.
necessarily say that because see, sometimes they just so jealous. I remember I was in another relationship, y'all. This person wanted to go through my phone, but they were just jealous. You too pretty, and I know everybody want to talk to you, and all of this. Then, well, I'm a business person. I'm gonna talk to plenty of people. I don't never want you. Don't ever get it twisted, right? I'm gonna talk to people on the phone. We're not talking about that. We're talking about business. But you want to go through my phone, and I just said, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do this. I'm too grown to do this. If there's no trust, it can't
Okay,
be no us. Period.
that is true. That is true.
Because what's gonna be the
But
next line you go cross? You gonna look at my emails? What's gonna be the
again,
next thing you gonna do? If I allow you to do this, what's gonna be the next move? I won't do it.
okay, but you knew your self worth, and you knew that you didn't have to stay in the situation. So, what would you? How would you have conversation with the ruach of another sister who is in that situation and does not have the independence and the knowing within herself? Well, she knows it, but can't is not ready to face it and deal with it and to make a change in her life. What would you today? How would you manage? How would you get into that person's space and talk to her? Because again, we can share with people, but they're so entrenched in what they're living that they can't see what you are trying to help them to understand about themselves.
And I would say that was the main thing I wanted to say was she has to be open to receive the conversation.
Exactly.
I can say, come here, I need to talk to you. But if your mate is right there behind you, 3 steps away, saying, come this way, you never have a break. That's the saddest part to me to see that you never have a break where you can have a conversation with someone else.
Right, because you're confined within the walls of the space that you live in. You are cut off from everyone else, and you don't often have an opportunity to be with other people. And if you are, we're all here together.
Hmm.
And so it is very difficult. So in that instance, I guess if you pick up a book and start reading, that person is not trying to read your book. So I would say start reading. Self development often begins with you in a book, in a private space. And we don't have a lot of private space, but again, pick up a book because they say that if you want to keep something from, I'll say, people of color, put it in a book because we don't read. The Willie Lynch thing.
I
So
read. Look, Mouse, I read. I'm a reading one. I read.
yes, it serves a lot of purposes, and it
Well, I
prevents.
would say, and then this is another thing. I would hope that someone sees this, shares this to help someone else because you never know who you can help through just sharing. You may not be going through this, but you may know somebody that is going through this. Well, you may have an inkling because our intuition be on point now. Don't never
Yes,
question yourself. When the spirit tell you something, it is what it is. It is what it is.
it is. It always is. And there, we're always helping other people, whether we know it or not. So again, being in this space right here, we've both confessed or made publicly known, which I'm sure you've done before, that we've been in relationships that were not conducive to our welfare, to our children down the line, and we can get out. We don't have to be there. I mean, I've had the blackened eyes, I've had the dislocated shoulders, I've had the um, fractured tailbones, I've had the stuff.
I have
And
too. Not to that extent, but I've had footprints in my back. I've been pulled up the stairs with a belt around my neck.
hmm, okay,
So
I've
I
been
had,
I've been
you
pushed down the stairs.
I had, and it was so silly. Let me tell you how silly I was, y'all. Went outside because all I had on was a t-shirt and some underwear, sitting on the steps, and the person came and said, "I ran you some bath water. Come on upstairs." Because I was one of those people that I like gifts.
Okay,
So when somebody beat on you or mistreat you, they always buy you something to kind of get your mind off of it, right? And probably around 45, I began buying my own gifts.
hmm,
You understand what I'm saying? But when I was younger, I get into a fight. The next thing argument or whatever. Oh, I got flowers, I got a card, I got candy, baby. We don't went out to dinner, and bought me an outfit. And I thought all of that was love.
listen,
Even though I was black and blue.
I'm saying that is not love. Love does not hurt. Love is not painful. Love can be uncomfortable sometimes, but love does not hurt. Love does not leave you black and blue. It is okay, again, to have conversation, to have meetings of the minds, to have differences of opinions, but love does not culminate in black and blue, in visits to the hospital, in having social workers up in your stuff talking about, well, why are you doing this? Because they're coming to help, but they don't always have the right approach or know how to reach out to you. And you're looking for the gifts, so you're not trying to hear it. You know, so it's insidious is the word, which is that it's deep inside, and you got to unravel a whole lot of stuff to set yourself free.
And
And
it's about asking and getting those answers from within. Because I can't come and really tell you nothing. Yaminah can't really come and tell you something. It's about talking to yourself and being honest with yourself. Do you know how many women? I've met a few women that have been married and their husband would rape them, even though they said no. And
listen,
the husband felt like it was right. I knew one lady, she actually had to have uncomfortable sexual acts with her husband
right,
and
because
felt like she had to because it was her husband. That's so unfair to a person.
well, the police say that you can't be raped by your husband.
With no is no.
What is no is no.
And it's in every language. I don't care where you go. When you say no in China, they know what it is. You say no in Russia, they know what it is. No
Except in
is no.
except in abusive relationships, because you don't really mean that. You know you want this,
No, 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 no.
and you're gonna do this anyway.
What?
So when it's not consensual, then it's rape. And it doesn't matter if it's the person that has been laying in your bed next to you for 25 years.
Mm-hmm. And you know something else I've seen that was slick, and this is the truth, y'all. I've seen someone take their wife and give it to the child to see, just to put some over their head. I
Say
thought
that,
that was the most
say
sick,
that again.
sadistic. Take their wife, them and the mate, they doing whatever they doing together, and give it to the child to see.
Hmm.
That
That's
you're
that.
sick to me.
Yeah, that is sick. That is beyond sick. That is enough right there. When you like put that right in your child's face, and the children know, because you may be behind closed doors, but a door does not keep anything out. So yeah,
And
those.
why tape it? That's my whole key. Why tape it? This is your wife. Who? Come on now. Respect the woman. And if she don't respect herself, God, apologize. I'm apologize for her. But you're not gonna record me and I know it because I'm there at the event. I can remember the event.
Hmm, right, right. Sickness. It's a mental thing. It's all about the mental, because if you don't respect the woman that God gave you or that you chose, then you don't deserve to have her. And she has to wake up. She has to wake up so that she knows, realizes, and understands that this is not a death do us part thing, because it
Thank
could
you.
actually end up being a death is the way out. But who needs that way out?
Mm-mm. Well, you can easily pack your bags and say, toodaloo, toodaloo. I don't want to do it. How about this one? I was at doing my volunteer service, met a husband and wife. I'm talking to both of them. While I'm speaking, the wife puts her head down. The husband begins to speak. So I'm standing there looking at him, I want you to know I'm listening to you. Um, so then when he finished saying what he saying, I say something to the lady. I said, well, what about you, such, 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 such? And so he said, we are one.
Hmm.
So I went back the next day because it was on my spirit. Yesterday you said to me that you and your wife are one. And he said, is that not what the Bible said? The only thing I'm one with is God.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that everybody else is a member of the body.
Right.
But now I'm one with Mother, Father, God. That's what I'm one with. I'm one mind, one body, one soul when it comes to that. Period. I recognize that everybody else is a part of the body, which makes me one with you. And I don't care if you're my husband, my daughter, my neighbor, my whoever. That's the oneness that I have, the understanding of what one is. But not to speak for another, not for another to bow a head down, not for somebody to look at you and cringe.
Hmm. So all those things are the signs, the it just lets you know what's going on in that house, in that relationship with those people. So she doesn't even have to say a word. It's that demeanor. It's like I watch people, like when I'm in my car and I look over at the couple when I'm at a stop sign or a light, and the faces are so tight, and you could feel the tension, and I'm like, that ain't a happy coupling. Like,
Couple.
you don't need to be there, because that is not living. It is not life. And like you said, what you're going through now in those situations are the worst you'll ever really face. So when you step out on your own, and even if you are at the bottom and you're starting all over again, first of all, you have peace in your heart. You may, again, feel the challenges and feel like there are obstacles, but you get to make the choices. You get to grow, and you can only go up from there. So, yeah, a lot of great things happen on the other side.
On the what?
A lot of great things happen on the other side.
You know that song by Kevin Hart, I Get It Out the Mud. You know how many women have gotten it out the mud with nobody to help them but God, the universe, source, however you want to put it. That's all they had was the collective coming in, pouring in, making sure they made it through. It
And it
wasn't a
will
family
always
member.
come through. It will
Mhm.
always come through. You just got to want it. And you just have to believe that you've always been supported. But I can tell you, though, that no matter what situation you're in, It's just prepping you for you where you are meant to be, where you are going to be. So,
Mhm.
don't fret, don't worry. Again, this may be the wake up call. And if it is, you just start planning your exit strategy.
Mhm.
Just put the little pieces in place, start tucking away a few dollars here, a few dollars there, because in the society we live in and you're doing it by yourself, you're going to need some dollars.
Mhm.
So, yeah, just tuck away the monies. Don't spend it all up on stuff you don't need. And just start putting your plan in place and work one piece at a time, one piece at a time. And, it will all work out because nothing that does not serve you or work for you lasts forever. But you got to put the work in, like with everything else. And it's not, you don't have to say, well, you just wait until I save my money and I'm out of here. You
Don't
need to
announce
raise
it.
any flag.
You move,
Don't
you
announce it.
move, you move in the shadow, baby. I hear you, but I got something else on my mind. I got something else to do. I'm playing my tambourine as I'm walking out the door, but you'll never know till the day I move. And I
You
had
will
to do
not
that.
know.
Let
I've
me
done
tell
it.
you,
I've done it. Listen,
in my 20s, I moved the whole house in an hour and a half. Whole house.
you do what you got to do. You get done what it is you need to do to move you to a safe space, to move you to a place where your mind can breathe. Your mind, your body, and your spirit can breathe. You do what you have to do. But again, it took a little bit of planning on your part. You're like, okay, well, this is my opportunity. Let me put these things in place, and I'm out.
Amen. And that's whether you're in just a relationship with someone, if you're married to someone, and even before you get married to someone, go to counseling. You know
Listen,
what I'm saying?
you
Don't just move in together and you know what I'm saying? Don't just make it be such a rush job. Build a relationship. Know this person as your friend before your mate.
and again, we see the signs, we see the flags, but we ignore them and we just keep going because yeah, I can change this person. I can make it work.
No, you can't change. Let me tell you something. You cannot change nothing and nobody. Change comes when a person loses enough.
Hmm.
When they lose enough, baby, I tell you, a light will come on and they'll begin to change themselves because they'll see the process and the things that they've been doing is not working for them. You lose enough, baby, you'll change.
Coming up out of that mud, huh?
You will change, and you're gonna change in righteous thinking. You know, if you're drinking and doing drugs and all of those, baby, all that's gonna cease because you're gonna see that don't even serve you no purpose. Being inebriated keeps you what?
Keeps you out of your mind.
Out of your mind so they can get in your mind. And so now you have got to become aware of how everything is structured.
And yeah, speaking of structure, sometimes it seems like the master plan is to keep us in ignorance, to keep us subjugated, to keep us um, in mental poverty and all kinds of poverty. And again, our environments are filled with unhealthiness. And it's okay to live outside of the box and to walk your own path. You don't have to be a sheeple. I call it a sheeple. You don't have to follow the herd.
That's right.
You got to be a leader. And again, you don't have to make any announcements to anybody. You don't have to stand up on the mountaintop and say that I'm whatever this thing is. You
Mhm.
just move through your life and make your life work so that that stuff falls away from you, so that you are being the goddess that you came here to be.
And then let that part of your life be a testimony to help somebody else. I always say experience gives you wisdom, which will allow you to help someone else.
Always. There isn't any other way that it works. Like I said, you come through something so that you can be the testimony on the other side. And you are that. Again, it doesn't matter what the situation is or was. It's not your only one, it's not your last one. You have a whole life to live, and you get to
Mhm.
make different choices. So everything is about a choice. It's all about a choice, and the next one and the next one. But don't make the same choice. Make a new choice.
Look, try not to anyway. I
Try
mean,
not to.
I had to go through some cycles.
Hey,
And
look,
I was so happy when I got to number 9, baby. The time I would see number 9, you mean tell me this cycle over? Thank you. Thank you, universe. Thank you. I made it. You
you
know what
must
I'm
be cat, my sister, with them 9 lives.
saying? Look, I can say, oh, thank you, universe. I made it through. I made it through that portal. And you know, you get excited when you see, because see, the choices elevate your consciousness so that you can become aware of things. And like Medea says, I can see you when you walk in the door. It's then you have to say to me, I see you because I've been there. You
Mm,
know, I've seen that before.
yes,
Not to judge anybody,
no judgment.
but to know what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you do learn. They say, it's said that, you stay in that same situation until you learn the lessons. So it may take 9 cat times,
Hmm.
9 cycles before you get it, but that's okay. It's a part of learning, it's a part of growing. It's all love that we're talking about here because we've been there. And yes, we've all had the cycles.
Now,
In
let me ask you
minutes.
this.
Huh?
What do you think could help other women alleviate the fear of being self-sustaining? To love yourself fully enough to not want to be in any type of codependency
Well,
until you really feel whole within yourself and then you want to join with another whole person.
bottom line is developing an intimate relationship with God, with your inner being, with your spirit, knowing that, again, God is first. And then when it comes to you and God, there's no in between. It's you and
Mhm.
God. There's nothing and no one in between. Your mate is your mate, but God and you have a thing
Mhm.
because it's not God, anyone else or anything, and then you. It's God and you. So you develop your relationship, your intimacy, have a relationship with God. It's having a relationship with yourself because God
Mhm.
is about loving you. God is about elevating you and growing you and building you. So, and that's your support system. And that's your source of all things. So you get to the point where you know that you being created in the image of the creator means that you are a creator and you get to create your life. You get to create your life. So when you get that understanding and that knowing, then there are no obstacles, there are no struggles. You and God, co workers, making it happen together. And I don't want anybody, you know, people will be quick to tell us, well, you just have to wait for God. You just have to
Mm.
listen to God.
God waiting on you.
God's waiting on you. God's saying, I'm showing you, I'm telling you,
Hmm.
you've been hit one time too many.
Hmm.
How much more do you need to understand that I need you to do some things? Because
Hmm.
you got to take the actions. You got to have that relationship, be able to hear it, be able to see, be able to understand. And, you know, once you have that relationship, then you are shown, you're guided always in everything. So that's that's what I say. You gotta strengthen that bond, that relationship with your creator. And
I'm
with
gonna get on this.
huh?
Amen. You just brought in another tradition. That tradition that says I'm gonna wait on God like you don't have no responsibilities.
Listen, we have so many blessings and treasures, but they do fall in your lap, but you got
Mhm.
to do something with them. You
Mhm.
know, those nuggets, those pearls of wisdoms, those thoughts that you have in your mind, they come from somewhere. They come from God.
Mhm.
So you don't have to wait because you're getting the inspiration, you're getting the answers all the time. So what are you going to do with it? You got to do
And,
something with it.
and learn to trust yourself and not doubt yourself.
Right, because doubting and not trusting yourself is doubting and not trusting God. Uh,
And understanding that God is with you. And so you can say your other name is, your real name is God. Your given name was the name that your parent gave you. So now that you can take that in and give a big exhale and say, "What did she just say?"
Listen, the
Then you take your
life.
power. You take your power because you know that there's nothing that can freaking stop you. You're an unstoppable force. Like what could come against me?
Listen, that breath of life is the breath of God. It's coming in through your nostrils and filling up every cell in all of your being. Your being, you are. I just say, I'm going to tell you, I say that I'm God manifest in the flesh, in,
That's me too.
as, and through me. And so, whatever it is God is pouring through me in my spirit is meant to flow through me so that I can touch all the rest of you divine people out here in the earth,
That's right. The
planet
rest of the
earth.
cells. I call it the rest of the cells. Because see, all of the cells have not been awakened. You know,
Right.
some of the cells think God is somewhere and doing something, and and it's fine. But when you get to understand that Mother, Father, God, and you marry those two parts, that those two things become one in you, then you have that oneness consciousness that I'm not separate from you, that we're all cells of the same body. And for me to harm you or hurt you is for me to harm and hurt myself. It just makes no, you know what I'm saying? And I look back at the tradition of how I was raised as a Christian and not knowing that for so many years. You know, I had my hellish ways. I sure did. I would curse people out, let them have it. And you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying not to be yourself or to allow somebody to just handle you and talk to you in kind of way. That's not what I'm saying. It's a way to respond to someone without reacting.
Mhm. So you said something that that isn't usually recognized, but we've been taught separation in everything. There's no wholeness, no oneness, no completeness in our lives. And we feel like we're separate from that from which we came, the source of all creation. If God is everywhere and in everything, where is the separation?
Mm-hmm.
We're taught that we think God is out there somewhere and we got to go find him, her, she, it. You don't have to find anything. Just look within. That's why we talk about having a morning routine or in the middle of the day routine where we stop and we take a breath and realize who we are, where we came from, how we're walking, and who we are being at the time when we're feeling like it ain't working. Just stop and remember who you are. So
And
there's
then
inspiration.
when you remember who you are, there's no anxiety there. You know that the only time it exists is right now. See, anxiety comes when you go too far over there, some that don't exist yet.
Right. Because
That's
we
where
don't have to
anxiety
worry
is.
about tomorrow. We don't have to worry about the next moment. Just worry about this one and put your plan in place and save your
Mm-hmm.
and start reading and start. Prayer is coming inside, talking to God, building that relationship. So talk to God. That's prayer. Talking to God. Just if you have to scream and shout or if you have to whisper it, it's inside of you anyway. So God's gonna hear you. God
I
hears
used
you,
to tell my
accept
when
you.
I was driving cabs, I used to tell my passengers we get to talk my God. I said, now let me ask you something. When you bow your head, I said, I want you to peek. I want you to peek. Tell me what you're looking at. I'm looking at myself, and T. Oh, okay, well that's what God at then. You know, you get in the mirror, you be all right with God being right there. Just as you are, nothing broken, nothing need to be fixed. You are exactly what God intended.
Right.
Every every piece of your life created you to be unique. From your parents to the neighborhood that you grew up in, every job that you've ever had pulled out something different inside of you. God has cultivated you to be you, not to be a pattern of anyone else, not to be concerned about another's judgment of you, because the Bible tells us not to judge anything, because wherever
Hmm.
we are, God is. And that's in consciousness. That's what that Bible is talking about. Wherever you are in your consciousness, I
Right.
am there. So even even if the God I'm talking about is a drunk on the street, consciously he's unaware of who he is.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that to me has a lot to do with religion or household beliefs or traditions. For a person, not it took me years to know who I was. You
But you
know,
always knew, you just didn't remember for a period of time. We always know, and we go back to the knowing at a certain point. Um, Even if it does not seem like things will ever change for you, at a certain point, you remember who you are, or you start to remember. It can happen in an instant, or it just can take a minute. But like you said, you are not broken. You are you are perfect exactly as you are because you are traveling your path. And sometimes you just got to travel that path. It could take a few cycles, but you got to travel that path for whatever the reason is, so that, again, you have that experience and that wisdom that you can share with someone else. And that was the reason why you went through your path. So don't be mad, don't be angry. Just come to an understanding that you are God manifest in the flesh. And whatever is showing up, and you are starting to understand that you are in alignment with the creator, you are one with all that is, one with everything that brought you here for its purpose in the world, then you're going to be all right. You are all right, but then you'll know that all is well.
and
And that's
I did. This was a meditation I had to do, remembering who I was. I would just sit and ask myself the question: Who am I? What am I not remembering? Who am I? What am I not remembering? Until I never will forget. It came in just as clear as day. Baby, I ran up the steps. Woo! I didn't even know I could move that fast. Oh my God, I know what God is. I know what God is. I know what God is. Right? Everybody in the house thinking I'm crazy. No, I know what God is, baby. But it came to me clear as day. Then I began to think about what was my imagination of God.
hmm
God was all powerful, all knowing, could do all things instantaneously because the only time it exists is now. And then I begin to look back over the traditions of things I had been taught, as far as you got to wait, you got the organ, just certain things you really don't have to do, but because you don't believe in your fullest potential,
right.
you still be stuck in those traditions.
Yeah, tradition.
Society has traditions.
And society is full of tradition.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean that there's any value in it. It just, our society is built on tradition because our society, and just like religion, all these things are tools to control the people and to subjugate someone else. So you just have to kind of learn how to think for yourself and make your own choices. You have to say, okay, well, if I'm doing this thing that society and tradition tells me that I should, that I have to do. Do you have to? You find that
Mm,
oftentimes you don't.
don't.
So you have to, there's going to be a lot of tradition breaking up in your life, but it's okay because
Mhm.
you are free to choose the things that work for you. Just because someone signed, sealed it, and put a stamp on it does not mean it needs to be delivered into your life and your spirit. Not at all. So it's okay to think. Thinking, creation, the creation formula is first there's a thought. But where does the thought come from? The thought can either come from outside of you, from society, from some other place, or the thought can come to you from the Spirit of God, from that force of life within you, that life giving force. So, first is the thought. And then next, you'll find yourself speaking about it. Thought, then the word. And then once you've thought the thing and the words become clear to you, then you take action on the thoughts and the words that you find yourself just
Cultivating.
with.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
just coming out of you, and they form a belief
it forms a
because God's word will never come back void.
right,
It's not the word in the book; it's the word that's coming out your mouth will never come back void. And so
right.
that's why we renew our mind on every level. You have to renew your mind on every level because of traditions and things that we learned along the way, things we may have been taught, doctrinations. It's so many things that we actually have to renew our mind on daily.
Yes. So again, trust and believe in yourself, like Letiska said earlier. Trust and believe in the thoughts that you are getting from the inspiration that you're getting, and believe that when you take the action on the things, again, there's always action. You got to take the action, and you will prove to yourself over and over again that it was a good move.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thought. It was something that built you up, that advanced you. Trust and believe you. You don't have to go and get approval or permission from anyone outside of you. Actually, it's better to keep it to yourself and get it done, because you go tell somebody, like you ran up the stairs and told your people you found God, they ignored you first of all, said you were crazy. So people are going to tell you crazy, you don't know what you're talking about. So a lot of times you got to work in a little vacuum. You got to work in your own space and keep it to yourself. And then after you actualize and make the manifestation, then you can go and say, I had this thought, and then this is what I did because I believed and I trusted in myself. And so you can show them the proof of the creation formula: the thought,
Mm-hmm.
the word, and the deed. So, yeah. Um, Sometime, because again, our world is indoctrinated. We are filled with tradition. We need people's permission. We need somebody to tell us what to do. Nobody knows the best thing for you but
But you now,
always.
I'm finna get into it for real now. Yaminah, tell us what you do.
What do I do?
Yeah, tell us what you do.
All the things that I just said.
But
Listen,
you help women do what?
okay. Yeah, I help women. Yeah, I help women reconnect with who they came here to be. I help women remember they had a dream, they had a vision, they wanted to be something or somebody, they wanted to do some things. But what we did and what we do is we shut ourselves down, again, because women who know something frighten other people. So we don't want to hurt other people, but we hurt ourselves by shutting ourselves down. So I help women to remember who they are so that they can live the life they came here to live. I help women break through the fears, and everything is a fear. Anything that doesn't move you forward is a place of fear. I help you to use your voice, find your voice, be okay showing up, being visible. I lived my life like I was invisible for hundreds of years. I've been around for a minute. So, yes, I help you be who you came here to be so that you can impact the world, living life on your own terms. So, I help you realize when it's time to make a change and help you with practices and help you to hear that voice inside, to recognize who you truly are so that you can live your best life.
Amen. That's what I'm talking about. Woman to woman. Who sing that song? Woman to woman.
Dag. Um,
Well, you know y'all know what I'm talking about. Somebody in here know what I'm
I'm thinking Shaka Khan, but she's
talking
I'm every woman, woman
about.
to
Okay. I'm every woman.
that's
Keep calling
yeah,
me.
that's Shaka Khan.
Baby. Yes, and it was International Women's Day.
You're right.
So I'm going to say I'm glad to be a part of a group like this. Every culture, every imagination of God. Oh my God, we are beautiful. We are
Like
beautiful.
the
We
spectrum
are
of the
strong.
rainbows,
Hmm.
like the flowers in the field.
We are courageous. We are dynamic. We are mysterious. We are sexy. We are amazing. We are geniuses. We are phenomenal women.
We
I'm
are
glad to
phenomenal
be a
women.
part.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, being all of that, you deserve to just enjoy what life has to offer you. That life is holding and waiting for you because you don't need to wait. Life is waiting on you. You need to come on, come on and change up a few things. And it's not hard. Everything takes a little bit of effort, but you know, you feel good when you're doing the work. When you are building yourself, it's building yourself, it's growing yourself. So it's not so much work, it's just different. It's different, and it's okay to be different. So I was thinking, like growing up, I loved coloring, and I do color in the lines. I make like the border first, like do the
Mhm.
outside border first, and then fill up color however I want to. But I live outside of the box,
Mhm.
and it's okay. It's great. It's not the tradition. I don't have to be bound by condition. It is bondage. I'm not trying to
Mhm.
be in bondage. Even when you're in that situation where it feels like bondage, you still aren't. Because I know for myself and Letiska, um, we did the things. We just did not fully express. I just need everyone to fully express because that's what you're here for. That's who you are. No more subjugation. No more dimming your light. No more um, not speaking up. No more acting like you're invisible because you're not and you can't be. And none of that stuff can be shut down, but we do our damnedest to try not to show up.
Okay. I call it jumping off the porch, ladies. It's time to jump off the porch. Yeah, it's either the porch or the cliff. I've been jumping off the cliff.
I've
But
jumped
until
off
you
the
look,
cliffs.
until you build up the courage to jump off the cliff, jump off the porch first.
Oh, that's sweet. That's real
Jump
nice. Yes. Just jump
off the
off
porch.
the porch first. I jumped off the porch a lot growing up. Just remember the things that you did when you were growing up before you stopped growing. You know,
Mhm.
you got grown, but you stopped growing because you stopped jumping off the porch. You sat
Stop
down on the
playing.
porch.
And I'm gonna tell you something else. I'm ageless, but the words say I'm 50. Okay, so at my ageless age, I've been turning around to myself, like coming
Coming
back
home.
home to me.
Coming home. Yes.
raising children and having grandchildren and, all of these other children and, taking care of everybody. And to be able to finally turn back and come home to remember who Latiska was before all of that.
That's what I mean, reconnecting with the dream, because you had a dream, baby, and that was to come home. Well, at that point, you had not left home. You know,
Hmm.
yes, you do the tradition, you do the standards, you do the things that people expect you to do, that you expect, that you feel like you're expected to do, and then you reach a place where you come home. You come home, and that feels so good.
Look, you just went across another tradition, the tradition of assumptions, allowing people to put their projections on you. We could be on this for the next year because every time
So,
I think of a tradition, I'm gonna bring it to the table because I'm really becoming aware of traditions, and I'm like, oh, I got to stop that. Oh no, I don't want to do that anymore. And that's because prior to this moment in my life, I was not truly aware of tradition. I was so used to hearing that word
mm,
generational until when I heard the word, when God came to me and said, no, it's traditions, then I began to look at things differently because I didn't think of it as a traditional way. I'm
okay,
thinking of something that's locked in our DNA and we bringing it in that's to me is generational. Something that's in our DNA that we brought in from another life and we have to work through that. To me, that's a generational thing. A traditional thing is something that you have endured or gone through in this lifetime, and
right.
while you are the creator. And so breaking through those traditions to get back home.
Well, I guess it's like a barometer, you know, so that you can check yourself along the way. When you can see that, and I'll use your terminology, tradition, when you see something and like, okay, so everybody's been doing this thing this way. Why are they doing it?
Hmm.
Do I need to do this? Is it moving me forward? Is it bringing me home? Does it make me feel good?
Hmm.
What is the basis of it? Where did it come from? Who made this be the thing that I need to do? So it's a checkpoint. It's something you can come to the stop sign and then you can analyze, like, why is the stop sign here? And look around, make sure it's safe, and keep on moving. Leave it behind. So that's a
And
great way to understand um, the things that society would want us to feel is what we need, is how we should be living our lives. You get to
because
choose.
even as I remember growing up as a little girl, and I love Walt Disney because Walt Disney told the truth. Life is but a dream, right?
Yes.
But society will have you think the dream should be grow up, go to college, get married, purchase a home with a picket fence, get your animal, and have some children. And that may not be for everybody because now we have that same, let's say, that same dream, another remix of the dream. Now, graduate from high school, I may go to college, may not, may start my own business. I don't know what I may do, what is my mate doing? I have no idea. We may date, may not never get married to this person, may be with them forever now, 2, 3 years. Like the Buddhists say, you enjoy people while you're with them. Because people, and I really want y'all to understand this. Every 3 seconds, cells inside of you die. Every time you change your mind, period, you are becoming renewed. The old part of you is breaking away, and the new because of your thought. Every atom in the universe responds to just your thought process changing. That's scientific. This ain't statistical talk. Okay, now we're in quantum physics. So every because I've had a new thought to hold every atom because see the Bible says ADAM, but it's ATOM, atom, because the only thing that exists is atom and matter. Everything is moving.
It's all
Nothing
uh,
nothing in it is stable. You know what I'm saying? The moment you change your mind, that's it. Whole universe begin to cultivate that thing.
and with as you talk about a new thought, a new understanding, it's like compounding energy. Like it just grows and it grows and it keeps growing, and that's what life is because nothing remains the same. It's like King Solomon's was the wisest person on the earth, it is said. And he says, there's a time and a season and a purpose for every reason. So
Mhm.
if people come into our lives for a reason and for a season, like the thoughts and the things that we do come into our lives for a season and for a reason, but
Mhm.
it's always changing and growing. I think we
Mhm.
talked last week about the tree, how now we're coming into the spring in this northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere. And so it was winter, it was a season of dormancy. We might have stopped and rested for a while because that season is okay. Now it's the rebirthing. Um,
Mhm.
the flowers are budding and blossoming, and the birds and the bees are refilling the sky with their kind. And so we're always changing and we're always growing, and there is a season and a reason for every single thing, and that knowledge is cumulative, and we're always becoming better and becoming more. So trust your thoughts, trust and believe in yourself, your thoughts, not Letiska's thoughts, not my thoughts, not
Mhm.
your brother's, your mother's, your mate, or anybody else's thoughts. You trust and
Mhm.
believe you. Trust and believe the God that is inside of you, that is guiding and directing you. And you will grow your life.
And
You
be
will,
mindful of what you speak. Be mindful of what you speak. Think before you speak. Don't
again,
just be out here talking.
it's creation. Creation is powerful. The
And
word,
it's gonna give it to you.
words, that's what creates your life. So, yes, you got to be aware of those thoughts. And I actually created something called wordplay. And if you are getting tripped up on words, like my grandson came to me once, he had a project that he needed to do. And he said, why do, again, the children of Israel struggle so much?
Mhm.
And it made me think about that word struggle. First of all, I think I told him it's because we don't remember who we are. We don't realize um, like the power that words have over us. So I took the word struggle and I broke it down. And I'm like, when I think of struggle, like the S to me makes me think of slavery. I'm not
Mhm.
anybody's slave.
Mhm.
All
And
right.
I'm not in no struggle.
I ain't in no struggle. So T, I might have said trouble. I'm not trying to have trouble in my life. So I
Mhm.
went down to each letter STRUGGLE, and I thought of the negative connotation that the letter within
Mhm.
that word made me think about. And then I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm not trying to have struggle in my life.
Okay.
Yeah, so I reversed it around and I did, okay, well, if I am diffusing the struggle, not trying to have that negativity, then the S to me means success. I'm successful.
Mhm.
All right. The T means treasure. I'm treasured. I am a treasure. And these
Mhm.
are probably not the definitions that I
Yeah.
came up with when I did this, but
Mhm.
this is the process that you can do. You can take a word that is a struggle for you or an obstacle for you or anything that has a negative connotation for you, go through and plug in the negative things that it makes you think about. And then when you finish that, well, when you realize that, then your mind is going to open up and expand. You're going to think some new things and then flip it to the reverse and state the positive attributes that can come out of transcending the struggle. So
Mm-hmm.
that T can be transcend. I have gone beyond. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually have that, and if anybody want to get that, I can send it to you. So I think it's so much fun to do that, and it's fun. It's like have a little fun with wordplay.
Amen. And I will say this: it turns on the optimistic part of who we are.
Absolutely, yeah.
It turns that part on, and it gives us a little bit more insight. I'm the person that'll say, "What am I unaware of?" to myself. Show me the silver lining in this situation right here. It's looking very gloomy. In my 3D world. Sometimes it may look very gloomy in your 3D world because we lack the gratitude that we should have sometimes.
Oh,
We're expecting, I don't know what we be expecting and how we be expecting it. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we be in this crossroad. You understand what I'm saying? And so within that crossroad, you got to find a way to build a bridge to see the unseen in every moment. Because in every moment, the infinite possibilities are laying right there in front of us. And because of, again, tradition taught behaviors and this, that, and other, those things may be having what they call the scales on our eyes, where we can't see the infinite possibilities that are available right freaking now. Because all things are possible now.
so what you're saying is that you just need to stop and ask the question: what the heck am I thinking about?
Mm-hmm.
What am I thinking about? Because it's about your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to figure out how to clean up those thoughts, straighten them out, shake them up, look at them, figure out, hey, do I still want to think this thought or am I ready
Mm-hmm.
for a new thought? Which means that you're making a new choice,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you're using other language, which means that you're taking other actions.
Mm-hmm.
So, awareness and then being, like you said, grateful, be thankful that, okay, so this caused me to think a new thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's always okay.
Well, I thank you. I do appreciate you so much for coming, doing this spirit talk with me on Thursdays. I appreciate it. I will tell you this. It is so freeing to hold a conversation with someone that I don't have to tiptoe around with.
Ha, ain't no tiptoe. I've tiptoed
Mhm.
too long. I don't need to tiptoe. I don't want anybody tiptoeing around me because truth is truth. It can be colored and coded, but you know inside your spirit what is truth. So I just speak what is my truth. And if it resonates with you, then all the better. But again, since like attracts like, I think we are spirit filled in alignment. And, spirit is about truth.
And the truth is what it is.
And the truth, what they say, shall set you free.
Free. Yeah,
And
it is
that
what
is
it
the
is.
truth. Yeah.
That's like what you said earlier. God is omnipresent, omnipotent, everywhere and everything. Why is it you don't see God in you? That's the thing. If you can honestly say that you believe that God is omnipresent, omnipotent, but you don't believe God is you, that's a whole contradiction.
Well, your whole thing is about tradition. Tradition doesn't say that is the truth. Tradition says God is out there somewhere. So that
That's the Wizard of Oz. That's the Wizard. Look, even the Wizard of Oz, he came from behind that curtain and said he was just a man.
hmm,
You
yes.
know. And what is the joke? Where can we hide the divinity of man? Someone said we'll put it in the water. That's they're gonna swim and find it. Somebody said we're gonna take it to the Mount Everest. No, they climbing it and they're gonna find it. Somebody else said we're gonna put it inside of them, they'll never look.
And in the book, yeah, put them inside. Yeah, that's the one place you don't look. That's the
Hmm.
last place you look because you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know nothing. Yes, you do. It's inside of you. It's your truth. You
Hmm.
find your truth.
And you may have to start finding your truth in a book. It may come through, the revelations, step by step. And I believe that's why the last book of the Bible is Revelation, because it's revelation of yourself, becoming aware. The seven seals are on you, the chakras are on you. You are the living word. I really love the way that ending chapter of the revelation of, the revelation of becoming aware of you.
Okay, well, I find that the revelations are all throughout the book from the beginning, and most people don't begin at the beginning. In the Old Testament, a lot of people don't even know that there's a book that came before because God
Ooh, you're freezing up.
somewhere down the line, tradition comes in, and men come in, and they start switching stuff around. Oh shoot. Okay, am I good now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so I was saying about the Old Testament.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm good.
You're good.
Okay, third time. See, something's trying to keep me from saying this,
Hmm.
but you start at the beginning. Like you don't ever really want to read the end of the story without starting at the beginning, because there's wisdom, knowledge, and understanding throughout the Old Testament. So I
Hmm.
would say start from the beginning. And people say I can't read it because of the thee and the thou and all that stuff, but it jumps out at you. So what
Hmm.
it you need to get, you're going to get.
Hmm.
So I would say don't discard anything. Don't jump to the end because the wisdom is there. It's in the book. It's where they don't want you to find the answers, but it's there.
And then I will say this, and then I want you to again research the book that you believe in. Find out the history of the book that you believe in. It's okay to believe in the book because the book got some good stuff in it now. But research the book that you believe in. At least read the original text.
It helps.
Even if you have to get something, what are those Bibles where it breaks down the
The
Greek and the Hebrew?
concordance.
The who?
The concordance.
Not the concordance. It's called the interliteral or some kind of Bible like that. Anyway, but
Okay.
it'll break the words down and tell you exactly what the words mean. Find you something where you can actually read the original text. And when you read the original text, a lot of things that's in this King James Bible not even in the original text.
No. Um, I'm just gonna say I know that it says when Jesus talks about a thing in the New Testament, he always precedes it by saying, "My Father said," and those are the things that his Father said in the Old Testament. One thing I would say to do is, if you just want to open up the Bible, just sit and hold it for a minute and just open it up. Oftentimes, it'll like just put your finger down wherever it opens, and oftentimes it's the answer to something that you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So you wanted to know. So just play around, explore, feel it, play with it. Pop in here and there, and it helps. Like I
And
said,
expect it. I want you to understand, expect it to talk to you.
because it does. It does. Read some Psalms or some Proverbs
Mhm.
if you don't want to go through the whole history of things. Not that if you don't want um, to just get started, to find a jumping off place. There,
And I will say wherever you see some polarity, understand you have a choice to decide which end of the plane you want to be on. Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in these traditions of the world. Don't be conformed by the world and what the world is saying. Discern in your spirit what is true because it's the foundations that God laid.
yes, discernment and discretion are two very powerful things that go along with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Discerning means I have to take a look at it and figure it out and see what it means and what impact it has on me. And the discretion part is I don't have to go tell everybody. This is my thing. This is me and God.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
don't I can be discerning about who I'm sharing what I need to share with. And some things you don't need to share with anyone. Discretion. It's okay to figure out what belongs to others and what just needs to be here for the moment.
Mhm.
So yes, um,
Okay.
people.
But see, I'm gonna say that for me, I feel like the total opposite of that. I kind of feel like Jesus at times. Like I know people have to be willing. They have to want to know something different. They have to be in that transition in their life where they're questioning some stuff, and I understand all that. But that's a huge oppression to me. It makes me want to flip tables. Even though I understand it's free will, people are going into the buildings, and you know what I'm saying? It's all free will. And at the same time that this thing is all free will, it's like you don't want to know nothing different because this is the pattern, this is the tradition that you're going to continue to, you just, it ought to be a transition where old things should be laid away, just gone, and the new should be ushered in. And in order for the new to usher in, you have got to get new information poured into you.
Okay, well, again, I think we said that you have to be willing to put the work in if that means going to do some research, opening up a new book, learning a new thing. And that's what you're talking about, learning something new. When people go into a lot of buildings, they are spoon fed information, but you don't want to be spoon fed. You were spoon fed when you were a baby. Now you can eat yourself. You can
Mhm.
determine that you should eat more vegetables instead of eating Kraft macaroni and cheese. So go get yourself some veggies,
So,
some new choices. Figure out what is better for your life. And you can do it. It's all within you. Just look inside, ask God inside of you, ask God who's not outside somewhere else. Uh,
mhm.
and he's not sleeping or on a trip. You'll always get an answer.
And as my girlfriend says, and she is always available.
Always,
But then
always.
that's understanding that, like in all of us, we have male and feminine energy. Everybody has the same energies, and that's the same as God. God has a feminine side, and God has that's the nurturing side of God. But then we have the male energy of God, and so that's the
That's the
God is not even
agitating
a
part.
firm. Let me say something. God is
Right.
not even a firm, like a firm hand the way people make God, I just don't get it. Like God is so loving till it's almost like an unbelievable love. You
That's
know
why
what I'm
you
saying? Like
don't believe it.
this is some kind of fairy tale love. You mean to tell me I can do this and you still love me? Oh my God, and I can do that, and you just want me to choose, and it's gonna be all right, and boom, 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 and that's what God is.
That is what God is. All that other stuff, and we said last week, are consequences of your choices because you are going to get what you created. You made a choice, something shows up, you created it. So whether
Mhm.
it is good in your opinion or it is bad in your opinion, you're going to get that thing. So when it's bad, then you get to make a new choice. When it is good, you continue to make additional choices like that. So you're not being punished, you're not being judged, you're just getting what you are creating. So
Let me ask this because I think saying good and bad are judgments,
there are judgments, and
and
that's
so
tradition. That's
how
some
do we get
society.
from how do we get from that judgmental mind to accepting and allowing?
Well, what you just said is that God isn't judging. So there is no universal good or bad. So anything that morally does not harm anyone else or physically or mentally does not, anything that doesn't harm anyone else is acceptable, is good, is not, because you know, inherently we know, and those are labels. Those are
Mhm.
labels. Inherently, you know whether it is good and of benefit of and beneficial to others, or whether it is bad in the sense that it harms someone else. So we know that in our spirit. We know that in all of who we are. Because when you're about to be plain nasty, then you just know that you're just being nasty and rude and
And,
disrespectful.
and you better expect it back.
And that's the consequence. You created
Because
that,
spirit is always gonna turn around and give you exactly what you think.
all of
What
it.
you said, especially like if you're projecting onto somebody, oh, I already know they're gonna do that. I think I'm gonna say whatever I want to say to them. Oh, that spirit and that person is connected to you. That's how connected we are. And they're gonna turn right on and give you what you said.
And you know it because it happens all the time, every
I
time.
remember when I first started playing with the energy like that, trying to really get my feet in and understand how to become water. I would, no story. I wrote about this in my book. It's down in the bio, y'all. Y'all go get the book, go get the t-shirt too. Okay, but let me tell you, I would focus in on a person and I would say something in my head, not out my mouth, but I would say, "Hey, how you doing?" And walk past them. And as I'm getting up to them, they would hold their head up and say something to me. And I said, "Oh, this ain't working." But this is when you walking into figuring some stuff out. So as I begin to kind of figure stuff out, I said, "Well, I'm just going, okay, you say I can do this. Well, this is what I'm going to do for the next 10, 15 days.
Hmm.
This is going to be what I do until I can get familiar with how to do it and learn how to become water because everything is me. You didn't tell me everything me. So now I got to learn how to operate like water."
Because you know it's your world.
Mm-hmm.
It's all your world, and it's you. Your world is full of you, your thoughts, your actions, your words. You create, it's your world. If they, excuse me, if it ain't looking good, not feeling good, then it's your world.
Mm-hmm.
Change it up. Make it feel good. Make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
And make everybody in it happy. You know, make
yeah,
everybody in your world just as happy as you are. It's only a choice. And even if you've had a program running in you and it's kind of like a core belief, keep working on your concept of another person because nothing can happen on the outside of you unless it's happening on the inside. So you have to keep working on that concept. It's only you creating that concept of that person.
it's the energy. It's energy, concept energy is energy. You said atom,
Hmm.
cellular is it's you, it's your world. It's like extensions of you. It's just like everything is you. It's your stuff in your world. And no one can change anything or impact it unless you allow them to, which means that they are affecting your thoughts and your beliefs, which in turn affects the actions that you take, which in turn shows up in
Hmm.
your world. So it's energy, it's thoughts, it's belief, it's you being God, creating your world and your life. And
So
you can,
now this is gonna be the last thing we're gonna get off because we've been on here almost 2 hours. Girl, we just
wow.
talked. We've
Okay.
been on here 2 hours. This is the last thing. I thought to myself the day before yesterday, I believe. Now that we have established who we are, the three-letter word, right? Is any of this other stuff real? Like these are things that we have created, right? To be a part of the universe. So if I didn't have memory of that because see, that's what causes dementia and all those things, all those diseases, because people cannot stay out of the past.
Hmm.
So if I constantly stayed in my present, none of those other things would exist anymore.
Well, that is true. But, sometimes we do need to go back and look at some of the things, like how we looked at toxic relationships that we had. So we looked at them so that we can um, help someone in that situation now to maybe see themselves so that they can switch that up. So
Hmm.
dementia and disease and all the other stuff comes when you're living in that over and over and over again and
Mm.
never letting it go. So it's okay to revisit things, but it's not okay to live the things, like be consumed, and that's what your life is, because that happened. Why are you still there? To
Mm.
a dis-ease is separation, and it looks like I might be
Yeah,
frozen.
you were.
Um, okay, so dis-ease means this is you are separated from the ease in your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you cannot separate from the the clogged up things, the things that do not work, then you're going to fill it up with dis-ease, which we put it together in this disease, dementia, strokes, heart attacks, um, obesity, um, mental illness, whatever it is, you're stuck somewhere, clogged up. You need to unclog the pipes
Mm-hmm.
and come here now and say, oh, I'm okay. I don't have to be there anymore, clogged up, creating dis-ease in my life.
Because I will say this, you haven't been there physically in a long time. You have been there mentally, but physically that thing has passed you by.
You talk about the cells, it's still stuck up in your cells because cells have memory. Cellular
Yeah.
memory is caught up all up in the air. So
But
just
physically, you have passed that. You have surpassed that. It's time for you to renew your mind and jump on, go on and climb to the now. Top of the mountain. Don't change your mind about that situation. Accept it. I think you have to accept it. It's done. It's
yes,
nothing I can change about it.
right.
Accept it. And then after you accept it, swallow that pill. Because you carried it so long, can you forgive yourself? Can you forgive the person that you've been holding on to? Can you release them in love? Can you release the whole situation in love? Just let it go.
Latiska, I say
Mhm.
when you said now you can just jump off the porch. Just jump off the porch.
Of course, let it
Just
go.
jump off the porch and let it go.
Hmm. And now out here so often, it's not easy to let it go. Yes, it is. Now, it's not. It may not be easy for you to stop replaying it.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It may something may happen. You may smell something in the air, or you know how things just bring back memories.
Right, but
Like when I see pink dove soap, let me tell you, it reminds me of living in Virginia. So when I see pink dove soap, I go, oh, I remember when I lived in Virginia. My daughter had pink dove soap. But you know how things can happen in your life and it take you back to a spot real quick because everything is a suggestion. Everything about life is no more than a suggestion.
well, you said look at it, recognize it, but you don't have to. It it releases its hold after a while. It gets weaker and weaker. So then you can see it as a memory, as something that it was. If you need to revisit the lesson, then look at the lesson and jump off the porch and go run in the field and let that go. Leave it on the
Mhm.
porch. Leave it on the porch.
That's you know what that feel like a good. I may meditate on that tonight. That's a good meditation right there. Just barefoot coming out, jumping on the porch, jumping off the porch into some grass, barefooted, just running. That's a beautiful. I'm gonna do that tonight. That's a great meditation. Thank you, my sister. I'm finna do that tonight.
Listen, you called up the porch metaphor, and it's so great. It's perfect.
Yeah. So now I'm here. Oh my God, that's gonna be so peaceful because you always have to find peace that passes all understanding before you go night night. How Kevin Hart said, before you go night night, Nick. Before you go night night, you got to get that peace that passes all understanding. You got to be in the place of gratitude, being grateful for all that has happened throughout this day, and you get to lay down and rest and let all this day go. Wake up in the morning renewed, your strength with strength and righteous thinking and righteous movement, righteous actions, and hopefully in the timeline of your choosing, depending on how you go to sleep tonight. If you go to sleep in the past, you're gonna be in that timeline. Go to sleep too far over here. I don't know how that's gonna work, but go to sleep right now, knowing all
Right
is
now,
well, all is good.
right
All is
now,
well, all is good, and I have everything that I need to proceed in life.
and say thank you. I am so grateful. I am so happy. I am so appreciative. I am
Mm-hmm.
feeling so good. Thank you. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
night.
Amen. We love you.